If you're going to teach someone something important, would you do it with strange little stories about farming? Hey everybody, it's Wednesday. I've got the ugly orange chair here. That means I'll be downstairs at 7:30 tonight for Bible study. We hope you will join us either in person there. We spread out pretty safe. Or you can join us via Zoom. All the information in the description of the video, 7:30 tonight. Now we're going to be picking up where we left off last week in Matthew chapter 13. We got as far as last week, as far as verse 23. We read the parable of the sower, and what you discover as you get through the rest of chapter 13, and then I don't know how far we'll get into chapter 14, but the rest of chapter 13 is a whole slew of additional parables, additional stories in which Jesus compares the kingdom of God variously to all sorts of things, including a weed-infested wheat field, a mustard plant, a buried treasure, a pearl, a fishing net, and yet more treasure. Now, on the one hand, these are kind of fun stories, right? On the other hand, I think everybody wonders at some point, why is Jesus teaching this way? Right? He's trying to teach people something incredibly important about the kingdom of God and his role in that kingdom, how the kingdom revolves around and is located in his own person. And he does it with these stories about farming and fishing and digging the holes in a field and things like that. Why? Well, I would suggest to you that it may sound paradoxical, but by teaching in parables here, Jesus is doing two things simultaneously. He is making the truth of the kingdom simultaneously simpler and more difficult to understand. Now, why would he do that? Well, we'll talk about the simpler first. The simpler is pretty straightforward. That is to say that you and I, we understand this world. We see it before us. We see little glimpses of good and bad and all those things. But what we don't know, we have no experience of unalloyed goodness. We have no experience of pure and unbounded love. We have no experience, again, in the world. We have no experience of the sheer glory, the immediate glory of God, except in tiny little snippets. And consequently, Jesus could tell us straightforward about these things, and I'm not sure we would understand them. Weirdly, I think people understand hell better, which is one of the reasons Jesus teaches actually a little more straightforwardly about hell than he does about heaven. We have seen with our own eyes, whether in person or in television or in movies, the hell that men create in this world, and we can extrapolate from there, right? We know what it is to suffer. We know what it is. We know what evil is at its face. But goodness, love, glory, all those things are harder for us to understand, and consequently, these parables give us a little bit of an entry, something that we're accustomed to, something that we can understand. The paradoxical, harder bit, though, is that these parables make it harder for the scribes and the Pharisees and these learned folks to understand, because for precisely the reason that the things of God are not something to be grasped by cleverness and human wisdom and hard work, right? Back in chapter 13, verse 15, Jesus read to his disciples, or recited to his disciples, from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9, this people's heart has grown dull. Verse 35 here, 13:35, he says, and again, he's quoting Psalm 78, I believe. You can check me up on that. He says, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter what has been hidden since the foundation of the world. The truth of God is hidden to sinful men. It must be revealed by God, and it is revealed not through logic, not through deduction, not through any of those things, but through faith. And that, I believe, is why Jesus is teaching here in parables. Each of the parables has something specific to say. Talk about that later tonight. Hope to see you 7:30 downstairs or via Zoom. See you then.